Working hard every day is not enough to make this man's life happy. Currently, Jinghao is in a very difficult situation. Jinghao lost his parents when he was a teenager and now only lives with his youngest sibling who is still in school. They only live in a cramped rented place and eat whatever is available. Every day, Jinghao has to take his younger sibling to school, and one thing that unsettles his mind is the fact that his sibling could die at the age of 8 if surgery is not performed soon. Jinghao's sibling has a heart defect inherited from their mother, who died from the same illness. Working as a cell phone repair technician certainly won't be enough to gather the funds for his sister's surgery. Jinghao also earns extra money by creating cell phone repair modules that he sells to his colleagues. Jinghao also repairs any electronic devices he can. The time to perform the surgery is not long. Apparently, his younger sibling is 6.5 years old, so Jinghao is looking for other ways to earn money. Coincidentally, a friend offered another way to make money. His friend suggested that Jinghao take thousands of illegal scrap cell phones obtained from the black market. Jinghao could resell these phones at a higher price if he could repair them. This man is trying to repair the illegal junk cell phones he just got from his friend. After finding out where the damage is, Jinghao tries to fix it. If this cell phone can be turned on again, Jinghao stands to gain a lot of profit, and it turns out his efforts are successful. Without hesitation, Jinghao immediately borrows money from a loan shark and uses his cell phone repair shop as collateral. He used the loan money to buy illegal scrap phones offered by his friend at a low price. Then Jinghao repaired a large number of those phones, and after successfully refurbishing them, Jinghao immediately sold them to a fence at the electronics center. However, this business did not last long because the government announced that selling reconditioned phones is now illegal. The store where Jinghao sold his reconditioned phones also no longer wanted to take goods from him. Jinghao was truly confused because he still had a lot of scrap phones he had bought and had spent a lot of money on them. While pondering, Jinghao thought of going to the office of the junk phone brand he bought and offering the manager there to buy back the phone components he had repaired. Of course, Jinghao's explanation meant nothing to them, and the manager challenged Jinghao. If the components he repaired could pass quality control, then that would be the time Jinghao could come back here to negotiate. After having already bought a large number of junk cell phones, Jinghao now faces the tough challenge of having to repair these cell phone components and pass the quality test. Not only that, Jinghao also has to create a clear module on the steps to repair the cell phone components he obtained illegally. After successfully repairing all the components, Jinghao immediately took all the components back to the phone factory for quality testing, and it turned out that all the components worked on by Jinghao passed the quality test. With great enthusiasm, Jinghao returned to the HP company whose components he repaired, but the manager still ignored him even though Jinghao had passed the feasibility test. Undeterred, Jinghao immediately tried to persuade the director to buy the components he had repaired, but since the director was leaving at 3 o'clock this afternoon, Jinghao came up with the idea to chase the train the director would be taking. Although he had an accident and even had to run to catch the train, Jinghao finally managed to get on the train and meet the director again to explain the work plan he had prepared. But the director instead challenged Jinghao to repair 15,000 components from all the illegal HPs he had bought. Jinghao thought the director would give an advance payment, but it turned out not at all. Feeling it was impossible to complete 15,000 components alone, Jinghao invited Uncle Liang to help him set up a small factory so that Jinghao could meet the target given to him. After Uncle Liang agreed, Jinghao finally dared to sign a contract with the phone company he was repairing. The first step to raising capital, Jinghao sold his mobile phone repair shop and his beloved motorcycle. Not stopping there, Jinghao also pleaded to be rehired as a skyscraper cleaner. After selling all his belongings and borrowing money here and there, this young man finally got the money to open a mobile phone component repair factory that he would run. With sheer determination, Jinghao agreed to repair 15,000 mobile phone components that he had already purchased and would sell back to the mobile phone company as replacement parts. Because it was impossible to do everything with just the two of them, Jinghao, along with Uncle Liang, gathered people who were currently facing economic difficulties to work with them. The people they gathered had no skills or background in repairing electronic devices, so Jinghao had to teach them one by one. Because more people were needed, Uncle Liang invited the elder elderly living in his foundation to help Jinghao. Jinghao had to accept because these elderly people willingly worked without pay, which could reduce the salary burden. Eventually, the workers for the mobile phone component factory were gathered and they could start their work. Because he has to pay employee salaries and rent for the place they use as a factory, Jinghao still has to work as a window cleaner for buildings even though this job is very dangerous. He does all this, of course, to earn money for the surgery costs of his enemy's younger sibling who has a heart defect. Daring to open a mobile phone component repair factory with very minimal capital and inexperienced workers is certainly not easy. Various problems came one by one, starting with disturbances from thugs. Because the factory they opened attracted a lot of attention, thugs came to cause trouble and demand money. But fortunately, one of Jinghao's employees is a former boxing athlete, so he was able to resolve this issue on his own. However, the problems that will come do not stop here. Because Jinghao has run out of money to open the factory, he can no longer return to his rented place as he has been behind on payments for a long time. The landlord no longer accepts any excuses, so Jinghao no longer has a place to live with his younger sibling. Fortunately, Uncle Liang was willing to take him in for a few nights. Out of desperation, Jinghao went on a rampage and seized all his friend's money. Jinghao did this because his friend had owed him for a very long time and never paid back. If not forced, Jinghao would not have collected the debt in this manner. Jinghao is lucky because he has a partner willing to help him complete the target of repairing 15,000 phone components that he must finish. Jinghao has gambled with his life because if the target is not completed, he will lose everything, and the phone company he repairs for will not pay for all his work, even though Jinghao has spent everything he has on this factory. While sleeping in his factory, Jinghao seemed to hear a noise outside, and when he checked, it turned out that the scrap phones he had placed outside had been taken by thieves. Without thinking about his safety, Jinghao recklessly chased after it even though the truck was already speeding very fast. He tried hard to stop the truck that had taken off with hundreds of his cell phones, but they almost collided, and Jinghao was thrown out along with one of the thieves. The truck driver who took his cell phones fled. Fortunately, Jinghao managed to catch one of the thieves even though two of his fingers were broken. The police have now managed to find the truck that took off with hundreds of his cell phone components. This young man continues to work cleaning tall buildings even though his hand is already broken. Due to that limitation, the bucket he was carrying fell. His boss then asked Jinghao to remove his gloves and was very angry after seeing that Jinghao recklessly worked despite being injured. What Jinghao did was truly life-threatening and he was not allowed to work anymore. Since he had no money, the owner of the building they used as a factory also evicted Jinghao from the place. Feeling desperate, Jinghao met again with the manager of the HP company who set the target of completing the repair of 15,000 components. Jinghao asked for an advance payment for their work. But all Jinghao received were insults and mockery. Tata mo pa ay sabihin tapos yun siya anditay. Not being insulted as an ambitious poor person, Jinghao considered stopping everything he had started because there was no longer a place for them to complete the repair of the 15,000 HP components that Jinghao had already purchased. Jinghao truly regretted his ambition of recklessly buying 15,000 scrap HPs and planning to repair them and then sell them back to the HP company as additional spare parts. He did not consider that the target given by the company to purchase his repaired products was too demanding. Already very desperate with the situation and not knowing how to fix everything, Jinghao felt like he had lost half of his life. However, his friends came with full enthusiasm and said that they had solved all the problems. It didn't matter if they didn't have a factory and weren't paid as long as this plan was completed. One of Jinghao's workers' wives had heavy equipment, and they brought and moved all the unfinished HP. Jinghao was very fortunate to have friends and colleagues willing to help like this. They worked wherever they could as long as the target was met. It didn't matter if there was no factory. After overcoming all the difficulties, they finally completed the 15,000 components requested. But they have to wait for the announcement of the results of their job feasibility test. Jinghao was immediately met with the director, and the director said that their work passed the feasibility test and the company would pay for all their work. Not only that, Jinghao also received a contract worth 100 billion for the future. They were all still processing this, and as they entered the elevator, it was time to celebrate their success. They were seen rejoicing over all the difficulties they had overcome.